Last time on Square Roots, Faye, Ellie, and Saitan sit in chairs and tell you about the game that Square would have made, which you should remember anytime you feel guilty about half-assing an assignment. Sort of like I half-assed this intro.
And welcome to Square Roots, the classic RPG podcast. My name is Jim Banks. I'm joined by, I'm going to switch it up. I'm joined by Vanessa.
Yeah.
And John, there's so many wacky words that I could pick to.
Wave dimension?
John, wave presence. John, the wave existence.
Wave
Brandon.
existence.
Yeah.
I'm waving. It doesn't really
John's
translate
waving from another dimension.
Doesn't really translate to a podcast, but that was my joke, is that I'm waving back.
And this is a podcast where we play and talk about your favorite classic RPGs, one chunk at a time. And we're going to finish Xenogears this episode, so that's exciting. You guys excited to be done with Xenogears?
Yes.
Yes.
With all due respect to everyone involved, to the creators, to the listeners, to the gaming community, yes. I am excited to be done with Xenogears.
I echo that, but take gamers out, because I don't ever care about apologizing to gamers.
I didn't mean to imply that I was apologizing. I did say with all due respect. In some cases, no respect may be due.
And I guess we should go ahead and announce. I don't think we've done a next game announcement yet.
Do it at the top.
Because the poll just wrapped up a couple days ago. So
What was the winner?
Winner, Kingdom Hearts 3.
Woo-hoo!
Wait, that's not a classic RPG. That only came out like 2 years ago.
You know what? Rules are fake.
Oh.
Rules are fake.
And
It's 2022. It's up to you. And what the
It's
listeners
Anarchy.
have chosen is that they're sick of this 10-year rule.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that is a pretty good, like, this vote was kind of symbolic of that, or maybe our listeners don't care about the integrity of our 10-year rule, at least not as much as we seem to.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm the only one that cares about that rule.
It's more of a 10-year loose guideline at this point, let's say.
Yeah.
A 10-year suggestion.
Yeah.
We're on a 10-year track, but we might not make it there.
But yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3, next game. That's exciting. I think it'll be a nice, palate cleanser. It's very smooth to play, so I think it'll be good.
Honestly, that's why I was backing 3. I just wanted a smooth game experience that would run smooth, be smooth, and make me feel smooth. Because it's summertime, and that means it's shorts weather, it's tank top time, you gotta be smooth, or else society will judge you.
So yeah, Kingdom Hearts 3, getting smooth. Let's see. Why don't we talk about hot gaming news? Do you guys have any hot gaming news?
No.
What?
I do.
It was like E3, but not E3. It was like virtual E3, but not actually the company that does E3. So there's so many announcements, Vanessa.
Oh, okay.
John, I know what you're going to talk about.
You do?
I think. I thought you were going to mention Starfield.
Well, there was. Yeah, let's talk about that. Bethesda launched a gameplay trailer of Starfield, and there was lockpicking. Vanessa, did you see that lockpicking minigame?
No, but I did hear you guys talking about it, and it sounded like something that I would think was good, and I thought to myself, Vanessa, you should watch that trailer. I didn't do it.
They had a trailer, and it looks fine. I mean, it looks like a fun game. I'm sure I will enjoy it as long as it gives you plenty of space for nonsense. Like, I think the one thing Bethesda games cannot, for me to enjoy them, cannot get rid of is picking up random trash and like dragging it around.
Yeah.
As long as you can do that, like as long as you can like pick up a bottle off a shelf and then like throw it to the other side of the room, I will have fun with that game. Like, as long as you can collect
very specific
80
mechanic.
cheeses and like fill a room with them, or like space cheeses or whatever it's going to be in this game.
Space cheese.
I'm going to have fun because for me, they aren't so much RPGs as hot nonsense simulators. It still looks like a Bethesda game. Like, it doesn't look like a brand new engine or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's got it looks good, but I think for the most part they look good. I hope that they have more good looks on consoles, because my main problem is like the PC versions of these games tend to look so much better than the console, even on like that terrible Skyrim anniversary release, which doesn't look good on Series X. Is bonkers. Like, that game looked great on PC.
Yeah, it does not look good on console.
And there's no reason. It's not like, oh, PCs are so much better. Like, at this point, all the tricks that they've used to make these games look good are not that stressful. You could totally do them.
Didn't you play, when we played Skyrim, didn't you play it on PC?
I did, yeah. I played it on PC.
I remember watching your streams, and it's like, why does yours look so much better than mine?
I also put in a couple of like graphics mods to make things look even nicer, which is fun to do.
Yeah.
But even the base version of Fallout 4 on PC looks so much better without mods than on
They should
on
just
Series
release
X or
these
PS5.
games with mods, because the mods are make the game so much more fun.
Yeah.
Like, I just did a Fallout 4 playthrough, and the Game Pass version has like mod support.
Yeah.
And playing it with mods is so fun.
The last time I played Fallout 4, I used a mod to make everything leafy green, like pre-war. And
cool.
I liked it a lot. It was just a prettier world.
That's cool. I did enjoy the Starfield announcement, primarily because it sent me down like an internet rabbit hole of like all those old jokes about their game presentations. Like, remember when they said like you would be able to climb every mountain in Skyrim, and what's that guy's name?
Right, Todd Howard.
Todd Howard, yeah, and all those old Todd Howard memes about like, there was one where it's him in the movie Memento, and somebody hands him a Polaroid or somebody hands someone else a Polaroid of Todd, and it says, "Do not believe his lies" on it. Just all these great old memes about how he lies during game announcements.
But you could go to every mountain in those games.
I think there was like mountains in the far off distance or something
maybe.
that you couldn't do. Yeah. And then like he's just, he's stretched the truth a little bit in a lot of his game announcements.
I feel like I don't understand. I guess that like angry internet nerds want very different games from Bethesda than I want, because I'm pretty happy with the game, other than like the this is like, people aren't like criticizing the games necessarily, they're criticizing his presentation of them, because like they are amazing, but he makes them seem like the best games of all time, and like they're all these huge technical achievements, and he's just very very hyperbolic about all of it.
I think there's too much emphasis on always upping the technical achievement and ignoring gameplay and story very frequently.
Agreed.
I did like that Todd's video feed. You know how because they're like localized video feeds projected over a virtual background, and Todd's was in 1080p. Wow, the game. So you'll notice that it was also only running at 30 TPS, or tots per second, which is a joke that I stole from Digital Foundry, but I liked it. But yeah, he was running much lower resolution than the game itself.
That's funny.
Yeah, I think I like that trailer did not make me like incredibly excited. It looks fine.
Yeah.
But
it'll be fun.
It's more of the kind of stuff that I like. But I understand, I think people want more of a classic Morrowind. And I feel like that other game companies could seize that opportunity to make a game more like Morrowind,
Yeah.
but they haven't.
Do
Yeah.
they, though? I mean, I think a vocal minority want that, but the sort of quote-unquote new Oblivions and new Fallouts aren't really that new anymore. They're 10 years old, so there are people who are adults now who started playing as teens who I'm sure would be happy to just keep having the same kind of game experience.
Yeah, and it seems like the people that are always like asking for another Morrowind are the same people every time. It's like there are no net new people asking for that.
Yeah,
They're probably not. It's
that's
always
kind
the
of my
same people.
experience. Like, I see new Dragon Age fans all the time, I feel like that franchise draws more people, but I don't see a lot of chatter about, oh my god, just discovered Morrowind, it's the best.
Yeah.
I think that Skyrim is probably popular with far more people than Morrowind is. I have some hot gaming news.
What is it?
All right.
The new PlayStation Plus is here.
I joined.
Did you? Did you join?
I did.
PlayStation Plus.
PlayStation
Game?
Plus Premiere. or
Yeah,
something?
Premiere. There's Extra and Premiere. Extra and Premium.
Oh, I joined the Premium.
Yeah.
The one where you can play all the old games and stuff. I was like, I just re-upped my subscription. It comes out every 3 months, and it just happened the other day. And then I was like, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and add it.
Mhm.
Whatever.
So, it's sort of like a Patreon tier. You can have your old style PlayStation Plus, where you get your couple free games a month and online play, or you can get fancy perk tiers, where you can play the whole game catalog. They got a lot of games in there. They have Bloodborne, Celeste, Control, Death Stranding, Doom, God of War, Ghost of Tsushima, Hollow Knight.
Ghost of Tsushima's in there?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I gotta replay that.
Spider-Man, Outer Worlds, Prey, one of my favorite games, Returnal. They have a lot. Uncharted, Until Dawn's in there. So if you missed out on PlayStation titles and you have a PlayStation 4 or 5, you could do worse for your money, I think. I don't know if it's quite the same tier as Game Pass still, but they're trying.
It's not, and you don't on Game Pass, like you have to be online to play the games, but you like download a version of the game, like locally. With this new PlayStation, you stream all the games through their game streaming service.
Oh, interesting.
I thought there was an option to play them locally, or at least the retro stuff.
Maybe there is. I should look. But like I went to play. I just wanted to pick a game to see what it was like, and I think I picked like one of those Batman games, the Arkham Origins or whatever. And I was like, all right, that shouldn't take long to download, and it'll be interesting. But it's like, it made me stream it. So, which was not I don't know. This is kind of a shitty experience. It played fine, but you could tell you were streaming it. Like just a lot of frame hiccups and stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah. I have some hot gaming news.
Please share it.
They announced a sequel to, sure some people are excited about this. I've never played the original, but Dragon's Dogma 2, which was like a real surprise announcement, I think, because Dragon's Dogma was like a kind of a sleeper hit, right?
I don't feel like I've ever even heard of it.
It's like an action RPG, right, John?
Yeah, it's more like an Elder Scrolls with Dark Souls in it, but it does. Once again, I should note, you aren't able to pick up random objects off a shelf and throw it across the room, so it's not really like a Elder Scrolls game, but it has like the exploration and openness of a Elder Scrolls, and more like Monster Hunter, Dark Souls-y combat.
Interesting. Yeah, people seem to really have an affection for it, but so they were excited when 2 got announced. We should also go ahead and mention there are a couple Final Fantasy announcements. They gave a release window and
Gasp.
some looks into the Final Fantasy VII Remake Part 2. So that looks good. There's a lot of stuff with Sephiroth and Zack and allusions to kind of new story branches, which is cool. The game looks great, like it always does. And they announced the Crisis Core remake. Is it remake, right? Not remaster, remake.
I am not sure because I saw you guys talking again about Final Fantasy stuff and I didn't pay any attention.
I looked at the trailer for Crisis Core, and it definitely looked like PSP. It looked like the PSP like framing, but with nice assets. Like it looked like the same cutscenes. It wasn't a totally redone game like Final Fantasy VII Remake.
7, yeah. Like okay. Well, I mean, Crisis Core is good, so that's fine with me.
Apparently, that's a controversial take. I haven't really played it that much, so.
Yeah, it's pretty fun to play. I liked it, and I thought the story was neat.
What's the difference between Crisis Core and Ever Crisis?
Ever Crisis is like the mobile remake of Final Fantasy VII, right?
Sorry. Ever Crisis is the Final Fantasy mobile remake of every part of the Final Fantasy VII compilation. So it includes Dirge of Cerberus and Crisis Core and Advent Children and Before Crisis. But all
Advent
done in
Children?
Yeah. And all done.
It's going to No.
Yeah, apparently it's going to like have all that stuff in there. And it's going to be, but the art style looks sort of like original Final Fantasy VII. I do like the art style. Like it's real blocky and cute.
Advent Children was the best movie this podcast has ever seen.
No.
Definitely not.
I like the trailer for Remake. It definitely, if you have not, or for Remake Part 2, if you have not played the first one, skip ahead 30 seconds or so. Or maybe, you know what, skip ahead a little bit. Because I thought it was interesting that it's directly addressing how it's changing the timeline.
Mm-hmm.
And so I like that. And that like Aerith is kind of aware what happens to her. And I think that's really interesting.
Yes. And I like that they basically, to me, like the Whispers that were from the original part of the remake, who are trying to like keep the narrative on a very specific track. Those to me was like a stand-in for like all the weird Final Fantasy nerds that like thought that Final Fantasy VII is like this monolith that you can't change, and I think that the studio was like, yeah, all these weird nerds are trying to keep it on track, but we're trying to push it someplace different. It felt like a very obvious like commentary on that, which I thought was cool.
Someone was saying that, oh, now Final Fantasy VII is Kingdom Hearts. Well, kind of. And that's okay. Yeah. I think that's not a bad way to place to take it. Because if you were just going to make a dry sequel or something that just kind of picks up where the last one left off, it would. The original game has such a final ending that you can't really do much with, except for Advent Children. Yeah.
And that's how cinematic history is made.
Right. I don't mind this way of like a kind of multiversey, which I know is the hot. It's so hot right now.
It's all the rage.
So hot.
But it is kind of a multiversey take on it, and I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I think there's nothing wrong with it in my mind. As long as it's like fun to play and tells an interesting story, like that's kind of all I want. And a big ol' sword and a gun arm.
Well, do you think that it's time for us to level up? And by us, I mean not me, because I've still got like a third of a bowl of craft dinner left.
John's eating craft dinner. That's how he's leveling up. I'll go. I did see. We talked about this off air a little bit, but I did see Top Gun.
Mm-hmm.
While there's what am I trying to say? Well, I'm uncomfortable with some of the things we talked about, like the kind of being a commercial for the military and Tom Cruise kind of being a weird weirdo. The movie was super fun to watch. The movie kind of like bets everything on like planes can be cool, and they make the planes real cool. It's cool to see all of the stuff that's in the air, like the tricks that the planes do and all that stuff. They make it really interesting, and I think a lot of the characters are good, and it's just a fun movie to watch. Go to the theaters and watch and sit. It's fun. I liked it.
Did Matt feel the same way?
No. Well, Matt says he liked it, but also says it was terrible. So I don't really know where Matt stands on it. I did tell Matt that I was going to make a joke about him not liking Top Gun, and my joke is that it didn't have a Disney logo or a fucking weird wizard or some shit, so Matt didn't like it. But yeah, that's how I leveled up. And I guess that's pretty much it. What?
You did other stuff. Come on. You had a birthday boy.
I did have a birthday.
Happy birthday, Jim.
Thanks.
So you're 35?
35.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, officially the oldest person on the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
What were the 80s like? I don't know. I'm a 20-something.
I think the 80s sounded so cool. It must have been so much fun.
Let's see. What else? I rewatched X last night, and I just want to remind everybody that movie's real good.
What movie is that?
It is a horror movie that is...
Is this the one? I saw a whole bunch of things on YouTube for it. It's like
Ty
young
West.
people, they go to a house and there's an old lady there and she's like, oh, no.
Yeah, so it's directed by Ty West. Sorry, it's like all these people are they kind of rented out this remote farmhouse on these people's property because they want to shoot a porno. They were trying to make like a Debbie Does Dallas-esque kind of breakout porn movie. And there's an old couple there, and the old lady's really horny, and she becomes murderously horny.
Oh, that you told us about that movie a few weeks ago, right?
Yeah, so that was the first time I'd watched it, and I rewatched it last night, and I want to reiterate how great it is.
Is Debbie Does Dallas really that good? You hear about it all the time. But, like, how good can it possibly be? Jim, give us your review.
I've never seen it.
I've never seen it. Johnny?
I've never seen it. It was just a punchline in the 80s because it was such a silly name.
Right.
Yeah, there was like a year or two in like the late 70s where like pornos were doing well at the box office.
Yeah, like the Emmanuel
and
movies.
Deep Throat.
Yeah,
like
Barbarella. No, I guess Barbarella was borderline, right? That was more like super softcore.
Yeah. But like there were a few porno movies that like kind of made big money at the box office, which was interesting. But yeah, that's kind of the context for what they're trying to do, and it's just there's a lot of commentary on like age and sexuality, and it's just really good. That's how I leveled up. John, how did you level up?
Well, I leveled up by eating a bowl of Kraft dinner. I have eaten
on
it.
Air.
It is done. I will edit out the sounds of me eating Kraft dinner so that you don't have to experience that. But listeners, this is what I go through for the podcast. I go through only sleeping 4 hours, not having breakfast, and then having to rush eating Kraft dinner while recording the podcast because I love you listeners. Although I'm honestly still kind of mad at you about this game. So, it's
I'm sorry, not to defend the listeners because I don't care about them and I never will, but I do think that some of what has happened with this series was just a circumstantial issue where any game could have come to irritate you.
Yeah, I think that's definitely part of it. But this one was also just kind of obnoxious and hard and 70 hours long, and not a. I can tolerate something being over 70 hours long if it's a Persona game because they're delightful.
Right.
And also, like, the last part of the game is, which is one of my favorite things ever, watching the character watch the game, like where it shows like Faye looking through a window and it's the game, and then there's narration over it. Like, that's really funny to me.
Yeah, well, they didn't have time to finish it. Like we've said a few times that all these levels and areas were anyway. So other than that, we'll talk about the game in a bit. I played a demo of a game called Agent 64 Spies Never Die, which is very much inspired by Perfect Dark and GoldenEye. It is art style is very N64. They put a terrible CRT filter on that you should turn off immediately. It does look and play a lot like GoldenEye, except, and I think this is a big thing, the level design is not very good for the first opening level. Like the one in the demo is. It's just like long and windy. And one of the good things about GoldenEye was that the level design was generally pretty open. Like you were in a building that had somewhat made sense. Like you could go around different ways. And Perfect Dark sometimes had the issue of this game. But I found Perfect Dark even like, it was more like a set piece, right? That you could walk around and take in different ways to go through. And this demo is very much a corridor after corridor. There's only one way to go. And for me, that's not what I want out of a GoldenEye. It reminds me more of something like Soldier of Fortune than GoldenEye.
Ooh.
In terms of level design. So hopefully, I mean, it's still early. They could have time to make more comprehensive, cohesive locations. And I think that could be good. I like the look, though. Other than that terrible CRT filter that looks like trash, which you should turn off immediately. Otherwise, I haven't got that PC I ordered yet. That's coming on Monday. And I have been playing. I played a little bit of Pirates this week, not that much because I've been very busy with a work project. But I will hopefully play more Pirates with you guys next week. I would like to play more. I bought a cat in Pirates.
I want to see your cat.
Sweet.
It's very loud, just like my real cat. Although my real cat, I think, is sulking somewhere because I scolded her. So I will have to go give her treats after to make her feel better and boost her self-esteem. Let's see. I must have done something else. I feel like I've just been working and playing Xenogears, which is never a good feeling. I got Grid Legends on sale on Switch. Grid Motorsport, and it's a really good kind of arcade simulation, well, more simulation than arcade racing game on Switch. There aren't that many of them. It runs really well, looks super pretty for a Switch game, and reminds me that racing game AI in most games is just designed to make you feel special. But this game, it's like, it's more of a simulator, so everyone else is also trying to win instead of just letting you by. And that feels very different. And I like that it feels more like an actual race than just, like these other players that are like, oh, big special boy, you're so much better than us. We'll just go over to the side so you could be the big special winner,
That's exactly what I want from a video game.
I know.
I love it when video games tell me I'm big special boy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I like it. I like that it feels like, and also the game. My problem with a lot of racing games too is like, if you don't get first place, you lose. And in this game, it's like, oh, you made it mid-pack. That's where we wanted you. That's as good as we wanted you to do. Because like it's an up and coming racing team or something. And I think that it's just a very different way of playing and kind of feeling about a race. And I like that a lot.
That's one of the reasons why I think Vanessa and I really liked Forgotten City so much. Is like at the end of the game, they're all like, "You're the best person that ever lived. Thank you so much.
We'll never forget you."
Yeah, here, walk into this room and we'll have 100 NPCs apply for you.
It was so good.
Why do I have better self-esteem than both of you? That I don't need this.
Maybe it's an American thing.
Maybe, or maybe it's that I found a special gay niche where everyone's like, "Oh, you're doing awesome" to each other all the time, and so it's like, "Oh, no, I feel fine about myself." Anyway, Vanessa, how did you level up?
I went to an escape room. I love an escape room.
What was the theme?
The theme
Getting COVID?
Okay, no, it was, I went with my friends, and it was a just us experience. No strangers. Although it was my first escape room since COVID happened. I didn't realize how much I missed it. I freaking love an escape room so much. They're so good. This one was Sherlock Holmes themed, and the escape room attendant told us you have to solve the case in an hour in order to become special Watson assistants. She said, "We're Watsons in training." And there was a little old-fashioned telephone to pick up when you wanted a hint. At one point, I picked it up, and she goes, "Hello, detectives." And I was like, I love this so much. Call me detective. Tell me I'm a Watson in training. I just eat it up. Oh, it's so delicious. They're just so good. They're so much fun. I love them. Freaking escape rooms, the best. You may be wondering, did you escape? Yeah. I escaped. And I got the sticker to prove it. It says I escaped.
Was there tension between you and the other players you were working with?
So I went with, usually I go with two of my friends who I've done escape rooms with quite a bit, and we are very much on the same wavelength. This time I went with two people who had never done an escape room before. One of them kind of picked up on it right away immediately. The other one, I think she was not as into it. So there was definitely some, like, it's just, it's such a tricky thing because you really need to do it with people who are whatever kind of wavelength you're thinking at and pace you're moving at. Everyone needs to be moving at the same pace. Does that make sense? So, like, if you're good at decoding something and you're with someone else who is good at decoding something, it works really well. And then this third person, well, she also was shorter and couldn't, like, see everything. So I think there was some frustration there. But yeah, it just got a little bit... I think not everyone had an equal amount of fun, which usually is a huge problem for me. Like, I start stressing out and freaking out, but I tried to work very good on my boundaries and just be like, my experience is my experience. And their experience is their experience. And afterwards, we all went for drinks and tacos and had a great time.
Well, that's good. I hope your friends at least had fun. During the...
I think that one of them definitely did. The other one, I think she was not prepared for sort of how unstructured they can be. She kept saying that she wished there was like a more tangible, like, first clue of, like, here's what you do. She wanted it to be a more linear experience, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, sometimes they are kind of esoteric where you have to just, like, wander around until you find a button.
Yeah, and that's kind of what was going on. And then it's just the more of them you do, the more kind of used to certain tropes you get. Like, if you walk in and you see 6 pictures on a wall, you know that there's going to be something going on with that, you know? You just tend to notice things a little bit more because there are only so many variations of puzzles that these places usually have. But I had a great time doing that. And my other level up is my favorite show is back. It's called Evil. I've talked about it on the show before. It's the best show. It's on Paramount Plus. It's a crazy show about paranormal investigators working for the Catholic Church. Some of them are Catholic, some of them are not. And they fight demons and stuff, but not like a physical fight. It's just great. Jim, you love that show too, right?
Which one?
Evil.
Oh, yeah. I don't know. I kind of ran its course for me. I can't-
Wow, Vanessa.
How dare you! I'll admit that the end
Yeah.
of the second season did not really end with a bang, but I'm happy to give the third season a good try because I just think it's one of the most unique shows out there. And I love it. It's got our favorite actor, Michael Emerson. Who doesn't love that guy?
Oh, wow, yeah.
Yeah, see? Everyone loves that guy.
He's great.
Yeah.
I love him in Person of Criminality.
Yeah, Person of Criminality and Island Time. He's on everything. And that's how I leveled up. So if you're thinking about doing an escape room and you're scared because it's pandemic, my experience was pretty okay. We had signed up at a place. Some places do it where you get the whole room for a private experience. In some places, other people can sign up with you. We had signed up for a room that was empty, and then another group signed up to be in the room with us. And we were like, So we went a little bit early, looked online, saw there was a different experience that was totally empty, like 15 minutes before ours. So we just went and was like, hey, can we do this one instead? And they were very good and flexible with us and let us do it. So that was great.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yay!
I'm all done leveling up.
Well, all right. Let's get to talking about Xenogears.
What was this game? What game are you talking about?
Xenogears.
It's not. I'm not ringing a
Remember
bell.
the thing where there's God and a thing from another dimension?
Yeah, Final
Remember that?
Fantasy 9.
Oh yeah, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there was a ship called the Eldritch, which is, I like how on the nose that ship's naming is. You get inside, and the first thing you see is that there's like an alien in a jar. And you wake up the alien in the jar, I guess, and the alien in the jar is mad that you were kind of loud. It's in the middle of a nap, and does smash its own jar and attack you. And it's like this big blobby alien thing. And once you kill that, you're like, oh, so that was Deus? I guess we're done. I guess we killed the thing that was going to bring back God or put the Gavel Ministry in bodies or whatever. So we're done. Except you're not done, because there's like a supercomputer behind it called Raziel's Tree. And inside that is all the knowledge of what's going on. It's like an exposition hotspot. It's got, you tabbed expositions. You can go through and read everything you ever wanted to know. At least, but not you. Satan can read it. You just have to watch. He's translating it on as he goes along. And he's like, oh, this ship was part of an intergalactic weapons system used to dominate the universe. They had things called Yahwehs, or I think they translate it as Yahweh, but it's supposed to be Yahweh. And that is like it releases angels, which are sort of unmanned robots that will kill all sentient life on a planet and make it habitable for colonization. They're real bad.
Yeah.
Those are the seraphs that they'll talk more about later. And you're about to find more about who and where these people came from, but then Krillian and Graf shows up, and Graf's got his Alpha Veltal. Sorry, I'm a little burpy. From the craft dinner. Krillian shows up with Graf, and Graf is got Alpha Weltal, and Graf is like, I'm gonna fight you, and while you can technically win this fight, the game will act like you lost it, and everyone's mechs are disabled. I didn't win this fight because there's no point. I think you got a special item if you do. It's pretty tricky, so unless you're super leveled up, you're gonna lose it. And then your mechs are disabled, and they're like, and Graf is about to like smash Faye for being too weak, and Krillian's like, hold up, he's our bait. We got to keep him alive to get her to come here. And cut to Ellie, and she's in Nissan. She's trying to take care of all these mutants who are miserable and in pain. And she's doing her best. It's pretty exhaustive work, and every day there's more and more, and she doesn't know what she can do with them. Then she gets an email, I guess, from Krillian. That's like, hey, babe, sup? It's me. You up? I got your bestest bae, Faye, over here. So if you want to head on over, just you, not anyone else, I won't kill him, and you can save his life. So how about you go do that, huh? And she's like, good idea. This sounds great. Then, do you remember all the Gebler troops? They were that squad of guys at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, Guy Squad.
Yeah, the Guy Squad. They're like, we want to go with you. And she's like, no, you can't. It has to just be me. And they're like, why would you do that? She's like, because I love him. And if we all go, they'll kill him. So she tells them to stay home. They've been protecting Nissan. They turned into good guys. Yay!
Hey!
And then, so she heads over. There's a little bit of, this is all told her in a chair sitting in front of game screens that we are not playing. Mm-hmm. And then they have a montage of the crucifixion, which is, I should just say, every single member other than Ellie's robots are crucified.
The fact that they're just big robots on crosses is so funny.
And especially like the little teddy bear in giant size is that's the only one who's gonna find that painful to be nailed up on a cross, right?
Right, yeah. Just the visual of, like, imagine like the Power Rangers Mecha Zord thing just crucified. It's so funny.
And plus imagine 5 Gundams, 5 Power Ranger Zords, and 1 Furby crucified.
Yeah.
Poor Choo Choo.
Yeah.
So Ellie has to fight. Krillian's like, okay, so in order for me to release your friends, you have to defeat these 2 people, Rattan and Mugwort. Rattan actually showed up before. He had a really fun cameo before, where this is when you had to fight Esmeralda to get her into the party, and he was just there watching. He's like, well, this has nothing to do with me. So I don't know, go ahead, do whatever you want. And he's back, and he's there with his friend, and he gets a little upset when his friend gets blowed up, because at first they're just wailing on Ellie and she can't do anything because their mechs are far more advanced, and everyone's telling her, don't do it, these mechs are super advanced, don't fight them, like Satan was telling her that. But she does it anyways, and she's about to get defeated when it awakens the power of the mother, because she's the mother archetype. And she uses her mommy power to like blow them up with laser beams.
Yeah.
And they disintegrate. First, she kills Mugwort, then she kills poor Rat. I liked Rattan. He was fun. He had a little skull face on his mech. So she melts them both. Unfortunately, this does drain all her power, and she turns unconscious. So Krillian and gang grab her and take her to Melkaba, while leaving Faye and the rest to do their own thing. Then cut to, oh boy, friends, the final Gavel Ministry. Jim, would you be comfortable being Krillian? I'll send you a link to the script here.
Sure.
Xenogears game script. On the Ezekiel. Oh yeah, so this all takes place in the Ezekiel. That's where because I thought they were on Solaris. They're on something called, well, they call it a few things, the Ezekiel and the SLL 9000. This is never a place you visit in the game, which seems very strange. So,
Yeah.
on the Ezekiel, the fleshly body of God has been recovered. The anima and animus have all been obtained. All there's left for us to do is to change the animus become one with the mother persona.
That is incorrect.
What? What do you mean, Krillian? What did you just say?
Krillian pulls out a small remote and pushes some buttons on it. The Sol 9000 slows down, and computer chips slowly slide out of it.
What are you doing, Krillian? Have you totally gone insane?
What are you doing to the memory banks?
Do not touch them. We cannot survive without the...
He is erased from existence.
Wow.
Yeah. You were the only ones who could have activated the key. But now that it has been activated, I no longer need you. I am having you all erased.
How dare you?
The only obstacle that kept me from my goals was Cain. He was the person who had total control of the people and thus was my greatest nemesis. But the only person who could terminate Cain was Cain himself. That's why I created, in air quotes, a copy of Cain. Ramses acted exactly as I predicted, killing Cain. Now there is no one who can stop me. And I'm not interested in your power of authority. Did you really think you were acting on your own free will? You are all just parts of the system, created only as weapons of invasion and oppression. You are just terminal interface weapons.
We can become God, and you're...
God? Who said you'd be God? What impertinence. We are humans. We were created to be terminal interfaces of God. It is the same for you who were once humans. Man cannot become God. We can only entrust ourselves to God.
Whoa.
Ridiculous, going against the mother.
I have not gone against her. This is the will of the other mother.
The other mother?
You think you can eliminate us and still revive God?
It can be done. Your genes were scattered in order to keep the world alive after the fall in the days of destruction. Those genes live on today within the humans, the anima vessels, and the recipients of their alignment, the animus, and also the persona. By combining these with my nanomachines, humans will become living beings very much the equivalent of you. Actually, they may far surpass you in becoming terminal interfaces for God. So you are no longer of any use to me. Deus, the physical manifestation of God, only wants results. The means are insignificant to him, so this is my art plan, my Project Noah.
With that. Oh, you got it.
With that, the last remains of the Gazel ministry is erased. May all your worries cease. Rest in peace, ancestors of mortal man. Hold on, let me redo that. May all your worries cease. Rest in peace, ancestors of mortal man. Now it is just you and I, Sophia.
Wow.
That's good stuff.
Bravo.
Amazing.
That's...
I almost lost it at other mother.
Oh, beautiful. Then you get cut to Faye, who's sort of in a dark, like, you know, one of those black theater things. What do you call those? The black stage
A black
theater?
box.
A black box, yeah.
Yeah.
Faye's there, and Wiseman shows up, and he's like, "What are you doing? You just feeling sorry for yourself? You gotta go save your girl." He's like, "How? How can I do it?" It's like, and he's like, "You can do it, buddy. Just go ahead. Just do it. It's fine." So he goes to Macalba. That's where Miang and Krillian are holding Ellie. And you get some great... So you go... so cut to Miang and Krillian talking about Ramses and how Ramses sucks. And I love that. I love that a big part of all their monologues and like evil plotting time together is just like negging Ramses.
Yeah, I did. Like, I think the whole Ramses plot line is really interesting because of the way he was like. Basically, but like the part that doesn't make sense to me is like a big part of the overall plan here relies on Ramses being dangerously insane.
Yes,
seems like a real crapshoot about how that's going to turn out.
Mm-hmm. And cut to Faye's mom there with Krillian, and Faye's mom, whose name is Karen, is like, hey, so how's that Ramses project going? And Krillian's like, oh, it's pretty good. You can see he's already sentient. She's like, oh, he can hear what he's saying. And like the weird little fetus blob in this vat in front of them is wiggling around and upset. And they're like, yeah, he kind of sucks. Anyway.
Yeah, they're like, we don't need... Because Ramses was genetically engineered to be what Faye is, which is like the
contact
man, the contact man.
Yeah.
And then as soon as they made Ramses, they're like, whoops, there's the real contact is around now. We don't need this guy.
Yeah. And so they're like saying this in front of poor baby Ramses, and they're like, he's going to grow up super fast and turn into an adult quickly. That's bad news for his mental stability, though, because this means that he won't have time to like emotionally mature. And they're like, well, maybe there's a use for that. We'll keep him around. I'm going to call him my baby, or I guess she'd already had her baby, because she's like, yeah, he's 4 now, and his name's Faye, and he's pretty rad, unlike Ramses, who sucks. And Ramses is there, and everyone's telling him, hey, you don't need to fight us. What are you doing? He's like, and even the elements, the girls who formed the big Power Rangers Voltron thing, are like, hey, we're here to help you too. We don't want to fight you. No one wants to fight you. Why don't you just like come hang out with us, these 4 hot girls who think you're amazing? And he's like, no, you get away from me, you dumb girls. I want to fight Faye. And he does, and loses.
Oh, who could have seen it coming?
They go through the lab.
Everyone
Yes,
has said
literally
that
everyone.
Ramses sucks and Faye is amazing all the time.
They go through the lab where Ramses was born, and inside is a blob with eyeballs in it. A big eyeball blob. It's Deus Part 1, sort of. Also, you should note Ellie is there, crucified in front of it. And Miang also shows up, and she's like, with Krillian, and she's like, hey, Faye, we're going to stop you right here, because, I'm going to fight you, and you have to fight her. She's kind of this was the trickiest, because it's 2 boss fights in a row, and it was kind of a tricky boss fight, I gotta say. Of all the boss fights, I had a lot of ether guarding, so she couldn't do that much damage to me. But I made a mistake of... basically, she couldn't really injure me, so I could just... As long as you don't do damage to her, she can't really do damage to me because of the... what do you call that? The ether blocking that I had.
Oh, yeah.
But... if you attack her, that like doubles her attack power every time. So it's just a matter of me trying to get fuel back from the last fight, because I used all my fuel as a robot fighting before. And so it just took like 45 minutes of gaining 40 fuel points every turn. It was, I think there was a smoother way of doing it. I didn't quite master how to do that. So it took me, something like 40, 45 minutes to get through this fight. Wow. Just charging and charging and charging. It might have been less. That's what it felt like. Okay. So, you defeat Miang, but then Miang like immediately rematerializes. And this is where Krillian sort of explains what Miang's deal is, and he's like, every every woman has a Miang in them, and Miang can take control of any woman at any time because they have Miang's DNA. So Miang is like this more than human awareness that can jump from body to body.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do, their hair turns purple. And then all of a sudden, Ramses shows up, and he does stab Miang to stop her. And she's like, "Oh, this is how I wanted it," and he dies.
I didn't understand that part. Like, does she mean that it was part of the plan?
I think it was the human body that Miang was controlling. Said that because it's a real person that she's so, and that I think that person had feelings for Ramses, and then Ramses does strike down Krillian as well, and that's pretty much it.
I don't get it. Do I have a Miang in me?
Yeah, all women do.
What was it?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Well, because she's there was programmed into all humans are copies, and they include like genetic code for Faye and genetic code for Ellie that's passed down, and that's the contact and the mother, and also the Miang code, which is sort of the other mother. I don't know what.
I think it has to do. Yeah, the Miang is other mother, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah. You also get a lot of exposition here around like what Deus is, right?
Probably.
Does that happen here? I think
because
I thought Ellie told you around this, or maybe this is
this is right after. I think it's after because Ellie does like pull out a gun and then totally shoot Faye, and then her hair color changes to purple. Mm-hmm. And she's like, "I'm Miang now."
Now she's like super Miang / super Ellie now.
Yeah.
Because like the mothers combined, I assumed that was important.
Yeah, the two mothers got together. And Krillian also gets back up because he's a nanomachine, so he can't really be killed like that. Oh yeah, and this is where Miang Ellie explains what Deus is.
Yeah, basically explains all the lore of the game, essentially.
This is Deus, the one you call God. It's an interplanetary invasion weapon system that was built in ancient times by humans from another planet.
Yes.
It created an automatic weapon which could act on its own will to take control of a planet, but you should have known that from reading the Raziel record, she says, sassing Satan. But during a test run, Deus became uncontrollable. It released its power and annihilated a whole planet. And they thought this was too much of a threat to intergalactic peace, or at least the hegemony of whoever. I guess these are like Earthlings. I'm not sure.
I don't know that they're Earthlings, but like it says they are humans.
Yeah. So it was too much. So they dismantled Deus and placed the core on a passenger ship to be transported somewhere else. But unfortunately, the disassembled Deus resisted and it tried to take over the ship that was transporting it. This is the whole beginning.
This is the opening anime cutscene.
Yeah. And the people on the ship did blow the ship up, which sent it crashing to the planet, and Deus would not be able to leave, so it detached itself from the power core, Zohar, and that's what powers all your ether. That's what powers all the gears.
And it also makes mention that, like, maybe this is explained later, but Deus, I guess all the humans aboard the ship, like, died, essentially. But Deus realized that it needed humans to eventually like be able to be like powered up and leave the planet. Yeah. So it created its own humans using some like reactor thing that it had. It can make like bio-organic matter.
I thought Faye was the only crash survivor. I think
maybe he was like the template DNA kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because it says that Deus was like creating people. That's who
Yeah.
Cain was. Cain in the Gazel ministry were like some of the first like humans
because
that
Deus
Deus made.
formed the mother, and that
Yeah.
looks like a big giant space Ellie that was birthing all the new humans.
Yes.
And these humans were, let's see. Do you know why the Gazel ministry desired the anima relics in your bodies? Here's the reason. Before becoming human, the bodies of the ministry were once part of organic elements in the core circuit that made up Deus. There were two types of organic elements. The male or female is called anima, and the male is called animus. They were also created with the added ability to become mobile weapons by merging with machinery that suited them for use as the terminal interface weapons for Deus. In other words, the Omnigears using were one form of such weapons. The ministry, which were animus, were once to become once again separated from the anima at the time of resurrection of God, but they lost their bodies in that war 500 years ago, and that's why they put themselves into a computer. And they also put their own genetic factor, or like I guess their like DNA sequence, into certain humans. These are the ones. These are your party members, basically, and they're all the Gazel ministry.
Yeah, the Gazel ministry essentially like manipulated the genetics of humans over thousands of years in order to eventually get to these people who have bodies suitable for like, what do they call it? Holy something.
Yeah. And they also, but everyone else on the planet was just livestock being created to form biomass for Deus.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did you get all that, Vanessa? You have any questions for us on?
No, I get it. That's why they were making the Soylent, because they needed the biomass to make Deus, and Yugi lives inside of every woman, but now Yugi is Ellie,
Yugi.
and they both have purple hair because it's Super Yugi now. The mother and the other mother. Now it's just one mother, and they aliens.
Yeah, well, there is aliens as well.
Yeah.
So
now there's about to be a very hilarious twist to this, which is going to be fun to
so
talk about.
Miang says she's the keeper of time, and she's like the avatar for Deus. She's sort of the human. Deus is controlling her. Deus is her. But also Ellie is part of Deus, but Ellie's like the good part of Deus, and this gets explained in a second too.
Well, like Ellie is the will, and Faye is the strength or something. I don't remember what it said.
Is this the part when both of them say, I'm a Deus, I'm a Deus, I'm a Deus?
Yeah, they have a duet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So all that's left to do is vanquish this planet's civilization, return it to how it was. Then she can complete her unification with the final fragment of Deus, the Zohar modifier, which is the power reactor.
And that's like one of them like infinite machines that can create like limitless power out of nothing, basically.
And she also has to kill the children of God because the rest of the humans, because they could be a problem in the future. And then Miang takes Ellie inside the glob that is Deus, and they do fly up on this weird Merkava thing. It's like a big UFO. It looks like a drill. Looks like a drill UFO. And it does start nuking. Oh yeah, it basically destroys most of the world. So when you do get to go back to the world map, almost everything's blown up because Merkava's going around going like pew 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 pew. Then Satan sits in a chair and tells you about how the Seraph angels are spread across to pacify the world, and that's not good. And Deus is absorbing all the other mutated people. And also everyone was, so they did find Faye, who was like wandering around and has been sort of in a walking cloud coma, and they were really worried about him turning into it again. So they did put him in suspended animation, which they call
They froze him in carbonite.
Carbonite. Yes.
Amazing. Where do they come up with these ideas?
Yeah.
It's pretty good. There's a long scene between Seitan and the Shavat. What was the name of her? Zephyr. And they're just sort of, they go over history and why the war started. There's some animations of how Sophia, the Ellie from 500 years ago, did fly her ship into Solaris, some kind of Solaris thing to stop it from attacking. And I love that these CGs are like old timey with like scratches on it.
Yeah,
like it looks like old timey film. And also a few different sequences have that Pathé like light bulb time countdown rack leader thing. Do you notice that, like the timer countdown where it's old? It's from French, or old French movies of the turn of the 20th century.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah, that was, I kind of like that, actually.
Yeah, that was neat.
it just gets super weird. So, Sophia, the girl from the painting, killed herself, and this forever changed two people. Krillian, who was her friend, and I think had a thing for her, and Lahan, who was her painter slash boyfriend. Well, not really a boyfriend, but they were obviously in love with each other. And it destroyed both of them. Basically, Krillian, he lost his faith in everything but God, like even God, for allowing this to happen, and wanted to take over and rebuild the world himself. And Lahan went super dark and wanted to kill God. And so they sort of went on their own separate ways.
Is that what his deal is?
And yeah, he's Graf. Graf always says his deal. He wants to kill God. That's
right. I was thinking about Krillian. I mixed that up with Krillian, who wants to like make his own god or something.
Yeah. Krillian's the one who wants to sort of reform everything from the start.
Yeah.
Lacan became Graf. The world collapsed, and that's sort of where things were now. This is Seitan realizes they're the same person, that Graf and Lacan are the same person, but they're also an early version of Faye. So Faye's still kind of like, there's two Fays around right now. Meanwhile, Faye, who is frozen in carbonite, does get some memories back and sees the swinging pendulum, and he remembers his friends, and then his different sides, his memories show up, and he remembers Ellie, and then he remembers his mother as kind of being the same person. And then
Sorry, but is he not sort of in like a, kind of a romance there with Ellie?
Yes, he had sex with her pretty recently.
Right. Yeah. So that's his mom.
Right, but they both his mother and Ellie had the mother factor to them, so they're basically elements of the same person.
Right, so that's his mom.
Yeah. Girlfriend mommy, just like the best game ever made, The Quiet Man.
Oh, that is the best game ever made.
That is the best game ever made. Vanessa and I still have a Quiet Man avatars on our PlayStation profiles.
I really want to know if Jim and I are the only people in the world using Quiet Man avatars.
Maybe.
PlayStation
you just might be.
I love when I log on and I see the dad's face from the Quiet Man looking back at me. I love it.
And I have mommy girlfriend.
Yeah. So, Faye starts interacting with his, remember how he has, the multiple personalities, and one of them is id, but id is represented by a child inside his head. And he's like, and there's a fourth persona, which is the coward. And it sort of explains how the fourth persona came to be. Because Faye used to be a super happy kid, and you go see the fourth persona, and he's watching like an old timey film loop of him playing with a ball with his mom, and those are like his good memories of his mom. And then honestly, Jim, I want to say I like this cutscene, but it's also kind of a problematic cutscene. But I thought it was interesting. Remember his dad? His dad is Khan, right? Yeah. His dad keeps going on business trips, and whenever his dad leaves, his mom like starts casting this long shadow, and then takes him to go get like horrible, painful testing done on him.
I didn't understand, because like when it switches to talking about the mom, it just says mom was cool, but then she just suddenly changed.
Yeah, the mom used to be nice, and then she suddenly changed, and then that's when she started taking her own son to be genetically tested and doing all these experiments. And it quickly is revealed, although I don't think it understands this, that was Miang. Miang took over his mom.
Oh.
And that's why her personality completely changed.
I see.
And so there's a long scene. There's some flashbacks to all of a new set of characters, like Roni and Renee, and they're all Lacan's friends from 500 years ago.
This seems like a good time to introduce new characters.
Yeah.
Especially Roni.
This all feels very Final Fantasy VIII, going back to the dad.
Oh yeah, what's that guy's Laguna?
Yeah, this does. Yeah, it feels very Laguna-y, and so Krillian's happy because Sophia's been making him read, and he loves books, and but then Lacan doesn't want to keep painting her because he's painting her face as sad, and he feels like he's painting himself onto her. This goes on for like an hour. All this stuff about the paintings.
Well, yeah, and like this is where his personality splits.
Well, this is Lacan stuff. This is Lacan. It's showing why Lacan and Krillian had this attachment to Sophia, and then Sophia deciding to kill herself to stop the war that was happening.
Oh, right,
500 years ago, and so it shows how those two were just completely destroyed by her death. And that's when she blows up the ship. There's some good cutscenes here of her smashing the ship into the other ship, and Lacan saying Ellie with a little tilde. I don't know why they called her Ellie when she was named Sophia, but here we go. Yeah. So
Ellie's in every woman, right?
I'm every woman. Right? Yeah, Miang is every woman. Miang's every woman. So this is the first destruction of Earth. Then Faye Lacan goes, finishes the painting. Okay, so Lacan goes to see Sophia, who's in suspended animation, and Miang takes over her and starts making fun of him. Then Lacan goes to the snowfall, and he makes contact with something that we'll find out what that is in a bit. And meanwhile, Dan comes in. Remember Dan, the little Chucky guy from the beginning of the game?
The guy who suck? No, that was someone else.
With the weird hair.
Oh, it is the guy who suck.
And he does see that Faye is frozen in carbonite, and he doesn't think that's cool. And then Midori comes in too. And then they see that Faye breaks out of his carbonite encasing. And this is id. And Faye took Weltal to go find Zohar. And everyone else is following them to see what happens.
So why are we trying to find Zohar?
Oh, Faye, id wants to find Zohar because it's like the source of power. It's like a big battery. And so I guess finding that means he could he could become super powerful. Meanwhile, Faye is trapped.
Oh.
Faye's trapped in like the what's like Cloud in the life stream, sort of with the other personalities, including like Child Id. And meanwhile, Seitan does find a weird alpha version of Weltal in like an egg sack. It's weird and gross. And then out of this is in a weird cave, and then Zohar pops out and looks like a tarot card, like a big eyeball in a red slab.
Yeah, it's weird looking.
And you do fight this version of Id and defeat Id. And after that battle, then another mech shows up, and it is Wise Man. And Wise Man's like, "Hey, you need to help me kill Id." And he doesn't mean Faye, he means Id himself. And
Id himself.
yeah, and Wise Man reveals himself to be Khan, Faye's father, and he takes
Daddy.
full responsibility for he didn't realize that Faye's mother had been possessed by Miang and was horribly experimenting and abusing him, which caused Faye's personality to split into all those pieces. Okay, then internally, meanwhile, inside Faye's brain, Faye has a talk with the childhood Faye, who is watching the happy movies of his mom and is like hoarding the happy memories of the mom. And Faye has to convince him, "Hey, look what this is doing." But the happy kid's like, "Hey, it was the other kids that killed my mom." And you get a whole flashback. So basically, mom was evil. Faye was getting super powerful. Faye kills the mom with a blast of psychic energy, I guess.
Yeah, that's what I understood it.
But the original Faye made up these other forms of other personalities that could endure the torture, and then blames them for killing the mom. But the mom actually, so Faye like sent a boomerang energy blast, and it was gonna hit him, but the mom actually saved him in the last second. So she like stopped. I don't understand this. You can replay this. But basically the mom saved Faye at the last moment. You could see in the last anime scene, she looked on him fondly as she died. That's why that weird flashback to child Faye covered in blood and smiling is actually Id, because that's like the psychotic version of himself that's been tortured as a child. And all of the Fays reassemble into one. And this means that the happy Faye is forced to share these childhood memories with all the other Fays so they can understand their true selves, and that they're both responsible and not responsible for the death of the mother. And they have to kind of own up to what they did, but also then own that they also had happy times too. This is very long.
Yeah, there's like these like Faye's childhood memories, and there's an anime cutscene in here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on, and it's all just overwritten. Like there's a way to do this that's not so convoluted.
Right. And so that's all taken care of. Now Faye is a whole person again.
This is where like Faye doesn't Faye go to like find his dad, but it's actually Graf.
No, his dad is Wise Man.
Right.
Oh, you're right. But Graf is Wise Man. That's right.
Yeah.
What? Is this kind of a thing where Graf is in every man now?
No, so Lacan
Graf like possessed his dad a few years ago or something.
Right, because his body couldn't last that long. So Graf has been, he's kind of the contact, which is another thing like Miang, can possess different contacts or like people with the same DNA.
He says that he can like transplant his soul into other people or something, right?
Right, and so Graf was his dad, and that's why his dad's been disappeared, because he's been running around the world like Graf. And then Graf like goes into, he like merges with the Zohar, right?
I think that's what he wants. Well, no, isn't this when, like, because don't you have to fight Graf here?
Yes, and
Yeah.
I think so. Maybe I don't.
You
remember.
fight Graf and beat him, and then I think it's almost like he tries to help you because you're like, you tell him that you think that you can destroy Deus you can destroy Deus without doing anything with the Zohar or something like that.
Right.
Because he wants to do both, and doing both would kill all the humans, right?
Right.
Yeah. And then he agrees to kind of help you out, right?
Yeah. And then something happens and Faye gets brought into the wave existence.
Yeah. This is I couldn't, like, why put in a whole nother, like, plot twist? So, Vanessa.
Yes.
Not only is there all this, like, we want to kill God stuff and supercomputers and interplanetary weapons, there's now a being from a higher dimension that has descended to our dimension, and its name is the Wave Existence.
Uh-huh.
And the Wave Existence has been kind of further manipulating things behind the scenes in order to create the exact circumstances it needs to return to its home dimension.
Yeah.
Why?
Because
somehow it, like, with the way that Zohar works, it basically, like, made it possible for this interdimensional entity to come to our dimension, and it did, and then it got stuck here.
Yeah, and humans were using it as a battery.
Yes.
And it just wants to go home. And I feel like part of Deus is one side of the wave existence, and the other part that's kind of helping Faye is the other side, like that's less antagonistic, but still wants to go home either way.
Yes, yeah.
And there's a whole philosophical discussion with them. And
yeah, because, like, you ask it, don't you ask it, like, are you God?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, not in the way that you mean, but also maybe in the way that you mean.
Yeah.
It's very confusing, yeah.
He's sort of a Q. A bit of a Q. And
like the outsider. You
get flashbacks to how Deus became, like, sort of fused with the Zohar thing, and that's how Deus became sentient, I think, and became part of the god.
That's how I understood it, yeah.
And but the good part of this sentience was what created the mother, and that's what started after the crash landing did provide life to all the humans, and worked with Faye, and the mother ran away, and Ellie's I don't know.
Yeah, the way I understood it is that the Zohar, like I said, needed to create these circumstances in which kind of all this stuff was aligned correctly for it to be able to leave, and so it distributed two sides of itself kind of out into people, like its will, which is what Ellie is, and then was it like its strength or something? And
that's Miang.
Is?
Oh, what about
Faye
Miang?
Is, right?
I thought Miang was the other side, and Faye was just the contact between.
Oh, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
I thought it was Faye, though, but yeah.
Oh, I'm watching a big hawk flying overhead. It's doing circles looking for prey. It's
probably
really
a mouse down there.
Yeah. It's got a very large wingspan. It's pretty cool.
Ooh.
Anyway, so back in the world, Faye has become one with himself, and also with the help of the wave existence, his gear is now Xenogears, which is like a super powerful gear.
Mm-hmm.
And then so Faye goes to check in on his dad, and his dad turns into Graf.
Yeah.
And then Faye and Graf are going to fight. And they do fight, and unfortunately Xenogears is far too powerful to even basically get hurt by Graf, and destroys him. But he won't finish his dad off, because, he can't.
Why not? He finished his mom off. Heyo!
Oh. Yeah. But the Zohar is starts freezing and controlling Faye, and stops him from moving. And in order for Faye to control himself, that's when Graf/Dad sacrifices himself into the Zohar to stop it. So this is the best that we can do to explain this stuff. They find the original place where the ship crash landed, and there's a whole like grassy plain, and Faye remembers being there. There's also the original mother there, who's like a mummified corpse in a green goo tube. A lot of green goo tubes in this game. So what they need to do is destroy this Zohar thing. And they have to get through this ship in order to do it.
Defenses, the ship defenses?
Yeah. And there's a whole thing about this. This is pointless. This has nothing to do with the game, other than there's about a 1-hour cutscene of them trying to get inside Merkava, but they have to get through this like shield, and Bart figures out a way how to do it, basically. And there's an anime cutscene of them doing it, and then Merkava crashes on the planet. But unfortunately, then like starts evolving into a super giant boss thing.
Yeah, it turns into like a big dragon thing, kind of.
Yeah. And during this battle, Shavat also gets destroyed by the blast and crashes onto the earth. Everything's freezing over. Where Deus was attacked, it's trying to terraform with snow, I guess. And humans are about to freeze to death. This is your last, like, able to explore the world part of the game, and then you can go and do all the final quests. There's only one I really want to talk about, and that's the lighthouse. It's a side mission thing you don't have to do, but if you do it, you can level up Esmeralda into being an adult, which is pretty cool. I actually really like this. So the lighthouse is on top of Zebuim, which is that city we saw before from a tunnel, but this time you get to walk around what basically looks like 20th century Japan, and you're walking around in big robots. It's very reminiscent of like Sentai kind of monster things you're fighting in basically Tokyo. And there's all these buildings you can go into, and one of them is a subway, and Faye gets a memory of he goes up to this balcony and remembers being on this balcony as Kim with Ellie from that time. And there's it's like Rockefeller Square with a big Christmas tree, and they were celebrating the end of the year, and Kim was super angry about how his wife couldn't have babies and how humans were just destroying themselves. And he's like, what if we make a perfect human who doesn't have this genetic inferiority? And there's also a low birth rate because humans aren't able to have babies proper, like people are infertile. And that's why he created Esmeralda. And Esmeralda watches this and sees how they sort of sacrifice themselves for her. And she realizes that she has to become an adult, and just pop, poof, she's suddenly an adult.
So she could have done it all along?
Well, she had, the secret was within her, just like going home from Oz. It was within her the whole time.
It was on her feet, though. It wasn't within her.
Oh, shush. So she becomes a full-grown woman. That makes her more powerful, I guess. She's pretty good in the end. This is an optional thing. Sorry. Then finally, all the elements get together and talk to Ramses, and they convince him that he's not trash. And everyone gets a big group hug. So Ramses is okay, and he's going to live with his 4 hot girlfriends. You can explore around here. There's a great another side scene you can find where Hans, you remember the dolphin man Hans? Mm-hmm. He has got married, but his little dolphin stepchild hates him because he married his wife very soon after her husband was killed. And the child doesn't want a new father. And then he's like, oh, if only the captain were here. And Faye asks what happened to the captain. He's like, oh, well, the captain said he had to go down with the ship. And he's like, but imagine if the captain were here, he'd walk in and say he had a crazy plan to get some treasure and then ask what the stupid look on my face was. And then suddenly it was the captain there with a crazy plan for treasure and asking what the stupid look on his face was. And they say, how did you live? And he says, because I am a man of the sea. And that's the end of that plot line. I love it.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. So, they then you go to Deus. You go fight the final bosses, which have there's some dungeons. First one's just kind of a maze. The second one is a super maze with a bunch of switches. I just followed a guide to get through that. There's a mini game, a bullshit mini game, which I'll just get to talk about now. Between each level of the dungeon, you have to navigate these light beams that will injure your gears, and so you have to sort of drop around them. It wasn't hard. It was just like a little arcadey mini game.
Yeah,
and that's where you get to the final boss. Are you ready for the final boss?
I have
ready for the
been
final boss.
ready for like the last hour.
The final boss is, there's 4 spinning globes around Deus. Each of these globes is a mini boss, and if you defeat them, they remove an attack or ability of Deus. And the mini bosses, even though every guide I said, like, you had to have 3 of these GZ50Rs to double your output, I only got 3 of them. I mean, I could go on about... I just basically had to very carefully, because I wasn't as powerful as these guides wanted me to be, I had to be very careful about always switching equipment from one person to another and putting the speed shoes on Faye. And they suggest... The game very strongly suggests that you use not Faye to defeat the other enemies. But I kind of use my best characters other than Faye, to defeat the side bosses. So the problem was, at the end... I only had a couple of characters who weren't injured. I had 2 characters who weren't injured, Faye and Choo Choo, to go and fight the very last boss of the game. I also brought Saitan, who was injured and out of fuel. So my last boss encounter was, I put 2 of those power-up devices on Faye, which honestly, I should have put all of them on there because it makes him super powerful and he can basically take out the boss himself. And... you know how the robots can't heal each other? There's no like healing spells. You can only use fuel to heal yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Choo Choo actually has an ability where he can, for very low cost, heal other mechs. So it turned out having Choo Choo in the party for the final boss was a really good idea.
I knew this whole time that Choo Choo was the secret best character of the game.
Choo Choo is.
Our proof.
Choo Choo came in a clutch. He was healing Saitan and keeping him alive, while Faye, and that drew Deus's attention because Saitan was always injured, and so he left Faye alone, and Faye could just wail on him, and in 5 turns, Faye killed him. It was honestly pretty anticlimactic, and I was expecting it to be way harder. But then you destroy that Deus. And Faye's like, okay, now Ellie, you must be inside there. Ellie, come out. We finished it. We've saved everything. But Ellie doesn't come out. There's another life form in there. And the big blob wants to go back to... See, this is the wave existence, I think. And it's going to now use this moment to go back to its own dimension. Except doing so would destroy the planet, which Faye doesn't want.
Which, why?
I don't know.
It didn't destroy the planet when it came.
Well, I think it got captured by humans before the planet. Like the wave existence was what created that device that they were using to destroy all these other planets.
Deus?
Yeah, Deus was. Remember, Deus is a big weapon. It killed all the civilizations on other planets so that it could make room for humans. Deus was an interplanet.
Right.
Yeah,
but what does that have to do with the wave? When did the wave existence get stuck to Deus?
Here's what I interpret from what I watched It
Yeah.
seems like the battery for Deus, which is the wave existence, which is the Zohar, right?
No, the battery is the Zohar.
And the Zohar is powered by the wave existence, by like the connection to the other. That's where that power comes from, is from the other reality. And the power
right,
and the
yeah.
power itself is sentient, and that's what was talking to Faye.
Yeah.
So I feel like this was before Xenogears that happened.
So, okay, because, like, and I've tried to kind of read lore from the other Xeno games, and apparently, like, the Zohar is a thing I think that humanity found.
Yeah.
And they didn't create it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they found it in space or something and started using it as, like, a battery.
Ah, well, that's very clever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this Zohar, which I keep wanting to say is Zohan. I keep thinking of don't mess with the Zohan.
But we are
Yeah,
going to
I
mess
know.
with it.
Yeah, we are going to
Yeah, we
mess
are
with
gonna
it.
mess
Don't
with
worry. So it starts floating away, and they're like, why is it floating away? Because and then they realize Ellie is pushing it away from the planet because she doesn't want the planet to be destroyed when it goes back to its home dimension.
Mm-hmm.
And but no one's mechs can move because the Zohar was the battery for everyone and powering all their mechs, and now it's floating away, and they've defeated it, sort of. But Faye still works because Faye contacted the Zohar itself, and he can fly after. And then Bart's like, don't go. Promise me you'll come back. And so he does. He promises he'll come back. Then Faye goes to the floating away blob. As soon as he touches it, Vanessa, Jim,
Yeah.
everyone's naked.
Yeah.
Yeah, why are they nude?
Because it's like their avatars. It's not really their physical presence. It's just sort of how they imagine themselves to be.
Okay, why are they imagining themselves naked? I can't overemphasize how naked these people are. Like, maybe
Yeah.
listeners who haven't played it are thinking, okay, they're naked. You see, like, maybe from collarbone up or something. Nope. Nope.
They're fully nude. I mean, you don't see like P's or V's.
Well,
or even,
okay.
or even T's.
Now, here's something. It looks like the art was drawn over, maybe, for the US version, because whenever characters are turning, you see P's. Like when...
Ew.
Yeah, because Krillian's there, and he's naked.
Mm-hmm.
And whenever he's standing still, he's got, like, a Ken doll crotch, but whenever he's turning, you see dick. So I feel like they only just drew over the dick when he was
Hold
standing
on.
still.
I just looked up the Japanese version here.
See if he's just dicks just
And also,
out.
Ellie
Credits.
sometimes is, like, bathed in this weird light that smudges out her
Yeah.
body.
And I wonder if that's an edit too or something. That's just a guess.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
But you do definitely see a lot of shiny anime butt. I don't know
Yes.
quite what they do to it to make it look shiny, but they all look like they have just like the shiny small little bottoms.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they could put oil on it, like
Maybe they're
wrestlers
oiling
do.
up. Yeah.
So, then Krillian's there, and he explains, like, hey, so my whole deal is, like, every anime or every video game villain, I want to kill all humans because humanity sucks and everything sucks now, and I just wanted to, like, return to just, like, a primordial existence, because then there'll be no more suffering because I've killed everybody. And again, like, this is like Sephiroth says this, Seymour says this. It's like the ultimate anime idea. And he's like, and then Ellie and Faye are like, but we love each other, and this is what will make existence less shitty. And he's like, oh yeah, well, defeat this with love. And they defeat this, well, using the power of love and a Gundam. Faye does attack this snake lady. And the snake lady is Ouroboros, which is, like, I guess the ultimate spirit of Deus or something. And that, Faye, like, this is an easy boss fight. It's sort of like, remember at the end of Final Fantasy X, you had the fight with the little space flea after you fight the dad?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that.
I hit it with my blitzball.
Exactly. So this is just Faye versus Snake Lady. And Faye defeats Snake Lady, and then everyone realizes that they're going to be okay. And even Krillian, who's like, hey, you know what? I've did so many horrible things. As a human, I barely feel like I shouldn't be able to be absolved from sin. I'm going to go like to this other dimension and figure shit out. So goodbye, buddies. And then Faye and...
But then Krillian grows angel wings.
Yeah, he does.
He's like, goodbye, wings out, and like flies his naked butt away.
Yeah.
Yeah, what?
Because I guess that means he's ascending to the other dimension, the hyper dimension, Neptunia or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And
Neptunia.
that's a different game. I'm just referencing a different thing. So then Faye, I like when it cuts to like it looks like a final stage from Smash Brothers, surrounded by a bubble. And Krillian's like, "This is your planet. This is your home now."
Oh yeah.
What did that mean?
I don't know.
What was that place? So Krillian leaves. And Faye cut back to everyone seeing this Deus blob explode, and they're like, "But Faye promised he'd come back." And then suddenly, the mech comes back with Faye holding, fully clothed, Faye holding Ellie, floating back in the Xenogears down and landing in front of everybody, and with its wings shining in the sun. The end.
So, no, there are no gears anymore now.
There can't be because there's no more power source.
Yeah, there's no other
other than Xenogears. There is Xenogears still.
So Xenogears can still fly and stuff.
Yeah. So there's one gear left, but it's only going to be
it.
used for good, I'm sure.
No,
yeah.
this is terrible. This is like, you can't have one of these things and then one guy just has it, and then Faye's like, oh, we're much better than everyone else, and Ellie's the mother god, and they're going to start a religion. It's terrible.
You know what? You know what I was going to say? This is what happens in the godchildren of Dune, right? Like the next chapter is Faye goes crazy, and then his children have to defeat him.
Yeah.
It's a real Frank Herbert turn. The godchildren of Xenogears. That would be the sequel. So it does say, after the credits, this is part 5 in a sort of Star Wars retconning episode 5 thing. I finished Xenogears part 5.
Now to go back to 1 through 4. Let's do
All
it.
right. We'll make a lovely comedic sidekick called Char Char. They'll be explain everything with xenochlorians that provide the xeno powers.
Faye's xenochlorians were off the charts. Well, I wish I could muster like a more enthusiastic presence for the end of this epic journey that you've put yourself through. But I'm sorry, I did not play the game and barely paid attention to the summary. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm a bad gamer.
You're not a bad gamer. This game was tough. I was saying throughout the whole time this was the hardest one for me to get through, but now like looking back, I'm like, oh, you know what? Breath of Fire 3 was really pretty hard at some points, and so
what
was
about
Rogue
Galaxy? Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like those two. I feel this one had a more rewarding story, even if it was insane. I kind of like the ambition of the story. But then again, Rogue Galaxy had Mio and the flashbacks to the boy in the robot. Remember those?
Yes. Every time you got to a save point. Meanwhile,
you had to watch a 20-minute cutscene. So I don't know. I'll save my judgment for last. Vanessa, are you roundly for or squarely against Xenogears?
I'm roundly for Xenogears only because the very final anime cutscene is them just naked, standing around, having a naked conversation. And then one naked guy grows wings out of his naked back and flies away. The other two naked people run up a disintegrating staircase and then nakedly embrace. And I loved it.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Jim?
Yeah, I like this game. I played along for a little bit, but fell off pretty quickly. But been keeping up with it. I will say that I still find a lot of the lore stuff confusing. And I think it's needlessly convoluted, but yeah, I like the game. I can see why so many people gravitate to it.
This was a hard one for me. I think that the 3D PS1 RPGs where the world map is 3D, like Grandia, Breath of Fire, and this can be so hard to go back to because the camera's so bad. And just putting in jumping puzzles is, why did they do that?
That's terrible. Yeah.
Don't put jumping puzzles in your RPGs. But it was so bonkers, and just the audacity of them releasing a game where that they couldn't finish and then just having people sit in a chair and tell you what the game they would have made would be like.
Yeah.
It's so nuts. I'm gonna say I'm in the middle. I'm neither roundly for or squarely against it. That's as good as you're getting from me on that one. It would definitely, I think in our rankings, this is probably going to show up near the bottom of the game we play.
John has complicated feelings.
Yeah, I like parts of it a lot. I thought the combat in the robot sections were really fun, and the human on foot sections, which did not matter. I never touched that combo system ever. So I got through the whole game without doing that. So woo. Well, there's a Porky. Hi, girl. Hey, here. Come here. I'm just gonna just brush my cat. Anyway, so yeah, that's my final opinion on Xenogears. I think if you like that kind of Evangelion, really high concept weirdness, you might get something out of it, but just be prepared for it to be very janky. It's sort of a Star Wars KOTOR 2 kind of feeling to it, where it's like, it's really neat and they almost made something really good. Although I think KOTOR 2 is a lot better because just the writing was a little, and this game's really hampered by bad translation too.
Yeah, it's got some real issues there, like a lot of just weird typos and stuff like that showing up in dialogue.
Well, and not like weird biblical names not being translated properly and stuff.
Right, yeah.
Anyway, so where are we playing to next time with Kingdom Hearts Triple?
Let's see, yeah. So next time for Kingdom Hearts 3, we're going to play through the first visit to Twilight Town. So you'll get to Twilight Town, do the mansion stuff and the Ratatouille stuff. Okay,
so mansion and finished Ratatouille.
Yeah, you'll know when it's done because you'll get a little cutscene with Scrooge and Ratatouille.
Oh boy. How could you... I don't even know what properties are in Kingdom Hearts 3, so it's going to be a surprise. I didn't know Ratatouille was in it. That's crazy.
Me neither, and now I'm excited.
Yeah, has a whole cooking minigame.
Mm-hmm.
So Final Fantasy 15S, where you find ingredients and then cook it, and you get stat boosts.
Do you
get to say now, before we get into the game, that the name of the rat is Remy, not
I couldn't remember
Ratatouille.
the name. Yeah.
Ratatouille is the food.
Remy the rat from the film Ratatouille.
Yeah.
Ratatouille?
No, not. I was going to say, we can't spoil Ratatouille for anyone.
So yeah, that'll be fun. I'm excited to play more Kingdom Hearts 3. I'm actually probably 7 hours in. I'm really liking it, actually.
You've been streaming a little bit too, so our listeners should look for that.
Yeah. Fully loaded nachos on Twitch.
Oh, but what loaded isn't spelled
loaded, right. It's LODED. No A in the loaded.
Fully lauded, but fully not lauded. Oh boy. Well, this should be an interesting run. Thanks for choosing it. And thanks, listeners, for choosing Xenogears, even if it was a bit of a disaster playthrough.
All right. I don't think we have any emails this week.
Nope.
Nope. Okay, well, then what's our Patreon, Vanessa?
The Patreon is where you can go to support the show and make your voice heard on our next vote. At the $1 level, you can get your name read at the end of credits of the show. At the $3 level, you can get your name read and get access to all of our bonus material. It's amazing. It's incredible. There's episodes there about, I don't know what, because I put all of this in my short-term memory and do not remember what we talk about once I hit that stop record button, but it's got to be pretty good. And at the $5 level, you get all of that plus a vote on our next game.
Vanessa does phase in and out of our reality, too. Like, in Vanessa's reality, I didn't go see Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Yeah.
I went to go see Sonic 2 instead, and she was really mad at me for that. Even though that's not a thing that happened. I didn't never seen Sonic 2.
I was actively upset that you chose to go see Sonic 2 instead of Everything Everywhere All at Once.
You had like a whole backstory for it too. Like not only did John see Sonic 2, he saw it, but he went to the theater to see Everything Everywhere, but they didn't have any tickets, I think is what you said. So then John had to go to Sonic 2, and I was like, what are you talking about? John has definitely seen the movie.
It wasn't starting at the time, and he was there with someone else.
He just like made up this whole John story.
Wow.
I wonder
Where did
if it
that
was
come?
a dream.
Maybe,
yeah.
or it could have been like a Berenstain Bears alternate reality. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I had an alternate reality where what was it? I had that someone was in one movie, but they weren't in it. Oh, you know what it was? I was fully convinced that Memoirs of Invisible Man starred Dan Aykroyd and the lady from Batman.
You asked me about this, didn't you?
Yes.
You're like, Jim, wasn't Dan Aykroyd in Memoirs of an Invisible Man? I was like, no, I think it was Chevy Chase.
I remember it being Dan Aykroyd, and I remember it starring, what was the name of the Vicky Vale actress?
Hold on.
She won an Oscar for L.A. Confidential.
Basinger?
Kim Basinger. Yeah. Yeah, so I remember it being a Dan Aykroyd, and I must be mixing it up with My Stepmother is an Alien, but, like, it's so vivid for me. Every scene, like, I remember Dan Aykroyd, like, taking off the wraps and turning invisible, and the girl being Kim Basinger. It's really weird. So that's why I'm not that mad at Vanessa for thinking I saw Sonic 2 instead of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Anyway, that is not going to be a bonus episode. The bonus episode this month is Indigo Prophecy. So pay $3 a month and you get to hear that. Or you could pay $5 a month and vote on our next game after Kingdom Hearts 3. And I was thinking of doing like a easy action, non-anime action adventure game.
Yeah.
That sounds fun.
Something nice that we'll like.
Yeah.
Yes, something nice we'll all want to play.
Real nice.
Yeah. All right, listeners.
Wait, hold on. Might I suggest?
Yeah.
The Quarry.
Ooh. One other thing we do to thank our listeners is our Patreons is to thank each Patreon by name. We can't fit them all into one episode because we have quite a few, but here is a selection of them. Jim, why don't you go first?
Sure. I would like to thank Is Dreaming of a Dr. Steven Stone 5-hander to completion.
Oh
Do
my.
Good Recklessly, Lex Averial, Codab Games, Bree Girth, WWE Mike G, Kristen Ingram, Aaron Zelda 2 is Underrated Little, Rachel, Justin Rash, Cerberus Minotaur, Huxley Iguana, Matt Jorgensen, Stephen Paget, Rubber Bear, and Race Jenkins.
And I would like to thank Chad Wilson. Oh, hey, it's Amanda P. Sundress Dong Shadows, Nick, Wedge Coon, Your Platforming is Bad and You Should Feel Bad. Joshua W. Broxson, Miguel Torres, Give Legend of Dragoon the Vampire the Masquerade treatment and play it even though it lost. Cameron Shoei, Aidan Marriott, Wash in the Wind, Andy M, Hexagon, Ari Kopavara, and Keys B. Knight.
I'd like to thank Jerry Schreffler, Choo Choo died for our sins, Tree Diddy, tired of NFD's nuts, Pokemon Blue in 2022, it's a shorty. Maybe. I'm Hawk's mom, and this is my favorite podcast in Kirkwall. Chris Ryan, Eduardo Franco, Andy Smith, Saving Sid, The Virgin Ramses, and the Chad Faye. Vanessa's Gold Taco Bell, PS5, our best enhancements friends, Stan Ferguson, David Shook, Tyler, Robert Pullum, Matthew Castelline, and James.
All right, well, that's it for this episode of Square Roots. If you'd like to send us an email to have read on the air, our email address is squarerootspodcast@gmail.com. We have a Facebook group. It's called the Square Roots Podcast Group for smart, cool, very attractive people. You can find us on Twitter @SquareRootsPod.
Hey, and don't forget, you can rate this thing on your iTunes, on your Spotifys, on your Snookums, on your Ghana, on your Dweebles, on your Bitbops, on your Tubies, on your Karfas, any of your favorite listening platforms.
Yeah, we haven't gotten a new rating for a while. I do go and look at those reviews sometimes, and it's nice to see when someone leaves them, because I'm like, hey, we're not just shouting into the void here.
And
if you're listening on Spotify, you can listen to our back catalog wherever else you can get a podcast.
All right. Well, for Square Roots, I am Jim Banks.
I'm Matthew Van Zandt.
I'm Johnny Brandon.
And I'm Choo Choo.
Bye.
Choo 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 choo.
We did it. We finished a Xenogears.
Phew.